All right, ladies and gentlemen, back today. We've got Dr. Thava Palanisami. He is a, is that good?
Yeah.
University of Newcastle, School of Engineering. What's your specialty, my friend?
So I'm a professor of environmental microbiology. I focus on sustainable technologies and specifically developing plastic alternative materials
And
and develop, characterize. Yeah.
what was your introduction into this field? What made you want to originally get interested in?
Ah, yeah. So my introduction to this field actually. So I was working on environmental pollution, looking at various chemical contaminants like heavy metals and DDT, pesticides, and PAHs, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, and all. I have done that for more than 10 years. And then naturally, I moved on to plastic because I was using plastics for studying the bioavailability. So, in ecotoxicology, it's a common practice. We use a plastic as a passive sampler, and whatever absorbed on plastic is actually equivalent to the toxicity factor. So that made me to think, okay, why plastic is absorbing too much pollutants. Then that was back in 2011. Then I had an interaction with one of my collaborators in Europe, and then that time the study was the plastic pollution study was in the infant stage. So I was looking at the chemistry and toxicology of plastic because normally uh, polymer synthesis wise, we were always told um, is actually plastic is good, it saves life and all, but nobody actually looked at the environmental impact. Okay, there is a separate category. When you see plastic, that plastic is defined in polymer chemistry perspective. Okay, there was nothing called environmental plastics. Totally two different thing. When you design something that's in the benign stage, right, it's made for its purpose, but when it's discarded in the environment, that definition is environmental plastic. That's where it can exert all other toxicological issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why it can attract chemicals, it can attract pathogens, and it can transform itself and break down into smaller particles. Yeah.
And we're just finding out now, every day we get more information that tells us what plastic can actually do. We don't actually know everything about it.
Mm.
So there was a study that came out recently, and maybe you can tell everybody. I wrote an article about it. It was apparently, according to the study, we are ingesting somewhere between a credit card's worth of plastics a week to a year, somewhere in between there.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was our study. The study was done in collaboration with the World Wildlife Fund, and what we wanted to look at. So the plastics problem is everywhere, and we know that, and we also feel that we may be exposed, but the exposure was not quantified. And whatever you say about plastics, until our study published, we were always focused on plastics in the marine environment, plastics in the water. We never thought that's coming to our body or our diet. Okay, then when we did our study, the estimate we came up was really shocking. Zero point 0.1 gram per week is the lowest, to 5 grams per week as a highest amount. That's based on the published literature. So we have reviewed around 100 papers. From the 100 paper, we have checked its quality and methodology, and then we screened the studies, and we finally end up around 50 papers. And from those 50 papers, then we transformed the data, and then did all the analytical things, mechanistic and all, and then we came up with this number. And even this number, it was a conservative estimate, but the purpose is actually, see, marine pollution or plastics in any environmental component, to get people's attention, you need to hit their conscious. That conscious is that every time when you use a plastic, you need to dispose it responsibly. First thing, you should resist using plastic. If you have to use for unavoidable reason, then you dispose it properly. And then you should be aware that what happens if you mismanage plastics. Okay, that's from citizen perspective or regulatory perspective and government perspective, and even health professional perspective. For that, you need to come up with the best risk communication tool, so that that reaches throughout the world, irrespective of language, even literacy. Anybody should be able to understand. So our highest amount of plastic ingestion estimate, around 5 gram, that equates to a credit card size. So that's what WWF actually, because they all for promoting public awareness and policy changes, and then that's what they come up with, and they promoted it. And this has been a fascinating risk communication tool, won so many awards, and it triggered policy changes in more than 140 countries. And now even United Nations Plastic Treaty ongoing right now has directly referenced this study. So it has actually given a lot of positive things in terms of managing plastics, and we are really proud of that study.
Yeah, I was really excited to read it because I've had my suspicions all along about, um, you know, how pervasive it is in the environment, and
Yeah,
how much we use it, and we use it in this disposable kind of way. So it's the study
absolutely.
very frightening, very depressing,
Mm.
but at the same time motivating
Yeah,
to try to
yeah.
remember. Don't.
Uh,
To,
Absolutely. When plastic invented, Chris, that time the front page of newspaper had a graphics or photo showing people throwing the plates and cutleries on the sky, and then expressing that, oh my god, no, we don't need to wash our dishes every day. Now you can just simply use it, throw it. Okay, but you tell me the same headline can be published now? No. So that time, how come? Yes, plastic is a good material, cheap material, versatile material. It can be molded, blended in anything. Okay, but how we were so irresponsible that we didn't think, where the hell this plastic will go if I use it and throw it? Where is the management strategy? Right now, you have a cell phone, the mobile phone. Now it comes with the deposit scheme. Like you go and give the mobile phone and get a new mobile phone, and batteries like that. Okay, plastic, it's directly coming from petroleum source. And then 70 years ago, we did not have that waste management awareness. Even government didn't even take care. Nowadays we are promoting a lot on recycling industry, right? If recycling industry was viable, plastic industry would have promoted recycling along with plastic, new plastic production. There's a look, it is a wonderful material, but what you do is use it, give back the material to me. Okay, I'll buy it from you, and then I'll again recycle it from you. Why they didn't do it? And first of all, you tell me, who's the first person asked for plastic to be invented or introduced in our life? No one. No one asked. It was not a requirement of the society.
yeah.
Now there is no denial that plastic plays major role in medical field and critical health sector. There is no denial, but there no waste management issue. It's carefully used and disposed. But in my everyday life, okay, in my children life, I don't want plastic. I didn't ask you, but you are saying, oh, it's only 1 cent. Use this plate. It's you, right? If there was a tax, plastic tax like Europe, and now it's like cost is 1 cent, but disposal cost or plastic tax is another 2 cents. People wouldn't have bought this many, right?
Yep.
So then you actually corrupted human brain with this toxic thing, and now justifying it like everything has to be in moderate. In my understanding, nobody wanted plastic in common life. My everyday life can go, buying grocery, other things can go without plastic. And there are several examples in rural part of many countries. You can take India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, any remote rural area, Africa, everywhere where no plastic, people are living good life. Like they're not depending on plastic for groceries. But here, if you go to every supermarket, groceries everywhere. So what happened? There are some viable alternatives that was in use before plastic invented, gone. and
Yeah.
made our life sick.
And what was the issue there is like a bamboo sack or a burlap sack is somehow so much more costly than a or a paper sack even. I mean that's not environmentally sustainable and but still.
It's see, there are two things here. Um, I think toxicity and risk is number one if you want to compare, and then sustainability is number two. So if you talk about sustainability, and there are product, sustainably sourced, and it was cheaper, but plastic replaced them, plastic killed them. Why? Even if you take bamboo or cotton or jute, any waste management, waste based fibers or product, why that looks costly? Because plastic was made so cheap because petrol was very cheap. Okay, but in my question, sustainability is second part. First thing is toxicity. The material I'm using, is it going to risk my food or risk my health? That's number one. And if it is risking, then the sustainability in my health also affected. There is something in, I don't know about Europe, here Australia, sustainable health is a big momentum here. Healthcare sector is pushing for, they have a target for 2030 that every hospital has to be green and less waste and all. So sustainable health is important. So if you're not exposed to toxic pollutant, then your time spent in hospital is less. Okay, that's called sustainable health, right? You don't go and pressurize your emergency care. But here, plastics, see, I'll give you this example. I was presenting in a regional health innovation conference. At the lunchtime, I was having a vegetarian meal. I'm vegetarian. So in that meal, I bit this big, almost 1 inch of large fiber. Okay. But what I was eating on a sugarcane bowl and a wooden spoon. Then I went to the kitchen. I asked them how the hell this came. I even have a picture. I can send it to you. And that, and then the kitchen people said, "Look, it's nothing here. It's a wrap. The wrap on top. When they peel it, and that small tiny plastics, it's got into the food." That's one example. And my son was opening his breakfast cereal. I know cereal is very clean, but inside the cereal, he poured the milk, and this junk, bigger than the piece I exposed, big chunk of plastic piece was inside. Okay, but it's nothing wrong with the breakfast industry. What I'm saying is, it's intruded in our life, every part. You can't escape. It's everywhere. You breathe, you eat, or you drink, all. But our study opened eyes that, okay, here is the number, right? If you have the number, and then people started thinking, oh my God, although we said zero point 0.1 gram is the lowest, nobody would have focused on lowest. They also, oh my God, it's credit card. Every time they pay using credit card for buying plastics and plastic covered food, then they, it hits your conscious, right? Oh, okay, you don't need any language for it, right? You can, somebody with Mandarin or Japanese language, you can still use the credit card, and right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And as
Yeah.
I said, rural people who don't have credit card, they don't have access to plastic.
Yeah. And still,
Yeah.
we need to. I like the idea that this is global and that you can multi-language kind of get this message out here. But so let me ask you this: like the health effects and the way that plastic breaks down and travels. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, so when you dispose the plastic, when plastic enters the environment, that plastic exposed to various environmental factors such as UV and mechanical breakdown, physical breakdown, and microbial attack like biofilms. Then these plastics, especially UV, quickly break down into smaller pieces. And that broken pieces, it's popularly called microplastic, which is less than 5 millimeter size. It's less than your fingernail size. And that plastic, we call it progressive fragmentation. So this fragmentation is a continuous process. It will break down from larger particle to micron size, microns to nano size. Okay, the smaller it gets, more toxic, because it can enter in our food chain easily. For example, microplastic have been found in all the marine animals, and larger particle will block but smaller particle will get into the gut and break down and then get into the bloodstream and organs. And nowadays there are more evidence from Europe that plastic found in blood, placenta, everything, and so because of this small nature, it can easily enter in our food chain. And also plastics in the air atmosphere, and a lot of this fibrous very tiny plastic fibers from tire wear and fabrics, everything again deposit back into fresh water. From fresh water, the treatment technologies currently, it's very hard to capture these tiny pieces of nano and microplastics, so it does escape. Even if you filter it out, then your drinking water distribution system, many parts it's a plastic pipeline, it can still leach out plastics. So you end up having micro nanoplastic in your drinking water too. Okay, so it's intrude, it's we are exposed in various ways. You can call it salt, beer, honey, everywhere.
Hmm. I'm more
And then once it goes,
I'm more man than more plastic than man at this point.
absolutely, absolutely.
Uh,
So we have to stop that momentum, right? We can't continuously release to the environment and get exposed. So what goes around is comes around you. So we have to stop that flow. Then you got to we have to do fundamental research on, okay, I'm exposed, what will happen to me?
right.
And that's where question comes, what plastic environmental plastics can contain. So there are three levels of environmental plastic toxicity. One is particle toxicity, the size of the particle can enter the organs. The second thing, chemicals. Once plastic enters the environment, although plastic already proven to contain hundreds of chemicals in it, but once enter the environment, it also absorbs other pollutants. Okay, it acts like a sponge. So this is second. And third one, it also attracts pathogens. So pathogens, attracts towards plastic and then forms a biofilm, very thick biofilm. So you have three types: particle toxicity, chemical toxicity, and biological toxicity. So once you exposed, we need to understand what kind of effect I'm getting. Okay, so adult it's a different, but imagine there are micro nanoplastics detected, found in sperms. Where? How? Nobody knows how. You know, and again, female reproductive everywhere. But then in a early childhood stage, even one particle, I need to understand what happens to my child, right? There is something called endocrine disruptive chemicals. Okay, EDC. It actually plays with our hormone, and it can change many drastic things. Okay, and I'm not saying plastic alone. I'm saying plastic could be a major contributor,
Yeah.
and other chemicals are there too. But we cannot ignore the fact plastic is being going through our diet, and it's already affecting. It's in our body.
Hmm.
And my common man question here is, if there is something in my drinking water, I want to know what it is. I want to get rid of it because I want to drink water, right? I don't want this, so I need to know that. And also, I don't want to see a small tiny piece of plastic in my son's diet. It doesn't matter, it goes undigested or comes out, I don't care. But it's not part of his diet or future generation, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't ask these questions and we didn't even think this is in our diet until we published. When we started that study, Chris, our objective was, we want to prove that there is a zero plastic in human diet. Okay, we couldn't find a single evidence. Okay, I'm hoping in my lifetime I may get something. I couldn't find. I'm encouraging researchers around the world, please work towards zero plastic in your diet, then
Uh,
worry about other things. Because you see, if chemicals exposed directly, body can metabolize, body can do other things to detoxify. But this is particle, it will be stuck in your body, or it will be absorbed, and if it goes to the blood, we are already exposed to a lot of pollutants, right? And this is a new kind of pollutant. And then even doctors will be struggling, right? Or, okay, dust, yep, dust, it may be going to lungs and then it will get dissolved in enzyme and all, but plastic doesn't dissolve it that easily.
No.
It's complicates.
There will be no way to get it out of the human body once it's got to its molecular form or whatever. And is that possible? Can it bind itself down to the molecular form?
Yeah, it can. The nanoplastic can bind in. Already in the medical field, it's there something called polymer based drug delivery. So they
Mm.
use biodegradable polymers to target particular system in the body, like lungs and brain. So that means drug is loaded with these biodegradable particles, and then it carries the drug to the target site. Similarly, our this plastic, environmental plastic, nano size, it can play the same role. Instead of carrying drug, it can carry chemicals. It's simple mathematics, right? So that's what worries me. And you look at the health, reduction in our healthy lifestyle. We are already struggling to find the cause, right? So
The big,
this is really
the big,
painful.
the big news is the sperm counts are going down, and nobody can figure out why. You know?
Absolutely. Why? So going back to endocrine disrupting chemical, right?
Yeah.
EDC is a major issue, and EDC, see, plastics. Factually, if I say, around 60 up to 60% of plastic weight can be plasticizers and the chemicals in it. Depending on up to 60%, you need that to make plastic like moldable, flexible, and all. Okay,
Yeah.
but again, I'm not saying plastic is not useful. I'm saying I don't want plastic where I don't need plastic. But you actually forced plastic in my life.
Yeah. You
Now,
know,
even if I want to get rid of, I couldn't.
you made the best point about plastic is that this is an anti-democratic thing that just appeared, but it came under the guise and the auspice of saying, "Oh, the free market says we can have it because the consumer
Yeah.
likes it." But come on,
Mm.
this becomes a political question. And then who's responsible for outlawing it? The corporations will push it off on the consumer, and the consumer wants to blame the corporation. I mean, what's our line of action here?
Yeah, no, that's right. So I think number one, look, uh, I don't know. I will live long enough to see entire world getting rid of plastic, but I have seen the people momentum after our studies. So 2.7 billion media hits, and then the community tool we developed. It's called yourplasticdiet.org. We go there, more than 3 million people already accessed it to assess their plastic exposure, and we have created awareness. So first we should reducing the usage of plastic in consumer perspective. Okay, if we don't want it, then I'll stop using it. But then government comes into picture. Okay, why? What are the plastic that we can get rid of it? Okay, that's an important thing. So I'll give you one example, right? Yeah, an apple a day keeps doctor away. That's a famous saying, right? But we were eating apple, we were so happy, right? But then who is the maniac introduced the fruit sticker on it? You tell me. Did you ask? Nobody asked, right? You only asked for apple. But who introduced fruit sticker on it? But
Some
that fruit
some
sticker is a
maniac.
polyamide. Yeah.
Yeah, some jerk.
Imagine, nobody, exactly.
Yeah,
And fruit stickers, like just one industry can have, like, imagine every berries, every apples, oranges have a sticker on it, right?
yeah,
I'm sure this is very simple labeling thing, right? And that's frustrate me because these fruit stickers are polyamide, and then it curls, and it will be like a tiny in wastewater system in water, you won't be able to see, and then it will break down.
yeah.
And
Like
you know what,
we're not going to
plastic is,
forget what a banana looks like.
yeah, and plastic industry is saying that you have to listen this carefully. They're saying, oh, no, 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 that's not a problem. You have to peel that carefully, then put it in your recycling bin. You tell me who will do that? You peel it, put that tiny dot in your recycling bin, and you're confident that will be recycled? It won't happen.
No,
So
no, no.
that's what I expected. Yeah.
I've eaten these things before, and I didn't want to eat
Mm,
these things, and it just pisses me off
exactly.
that I go to eat.
Exactly.
I've cooked the sticker and it seasoned it just
Yeah.
right. Now I'm going to eat
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah. So let me ask you about. Obviously, you got to be talented to find the stuff, and what are some of the metrics and methodology that you use to find it and measure it and stuff like that.
Yeah. So um, to measure plastics in any environmental matters or human matters, we need to use combination of methodology techniques. Okay, first we have to screen the samples and then prepare the samples. And once sample preparation is done, then you use a series of advanced analytical tools, starting from simple microscope, and then you go on an above IR spectroscopy, scanning electron microscopy, and then to understand the chemicals attached to plastic, then you need to use other liquid chromatography, gas chromatography, and all. So there's like at least 12 different advanced analytical tools we use, and colleagues around the world also using. So you need series of equipment to understand the size of the plastic, type of the plastic, and chemical and biological characterization, and that comes with the high quality control. So the environment we are analyzing has to be suitable for plastic. So you need to account, because plastic is everywhere, you need to account there is no background interference, background plastics are not mixed. So there are procedures in place to capture that. And then because it has it's not a automated message, automated measurement. So then you rely on the operator expertise, so whether they can identify properly. For that, normally in my lab we have three trained operators, so we will study their operator variability by giving the same sample to three different people and checking, and then reproducibility of the data. So we do all that quality check. And our lab also close to being approved by ISO as one of the plastic analysis lab. So we go through all the quality analysis. And then in human matters, if you say blood or other thing, it's even more complex. So sample processing has to be careful. And that's why there are some of the papers reporting plastics. I can see there are a lot of errors in it, because it's not easy to analyze plastics in the human matters.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of it's still a mystery to us. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
what and are there any advancements that you're looking forward to? Like it would be easy if we just had, AI or something like this. Or is there anything you're looking forward to?
Yeah, we do use AI. We do use AI, but technologies are evolving, and we are also developing some new methods as well to make it easier and reporting wise. So we are progressing in it, but probably I think next year we may have some. By 2025, we should have something that's like a easily used methodology.
I hope so.
Because what we found in our study, there's a huge variability in the reported concentration. That's because everyone is using different units, different methodology. There's no standardized methodology that time, 2018. And now a little bit improved, but still that's a challenge. That's because you need more than one equipment, so the data will be different. And then you can put a best practice and all, but then I don't think every lab will have that funding support to execute that methodology. So people use the methodology based on the available equipment and resources.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
But we want to come up with a simple methodology in such a way that it's helpful by any low or middle or high income countries to use it across. It's been a challenge. We are working on that.
I mean, this is the shame about science is sometimes it's political in the sense that if there's money in it, then, you know, but in the case of not eating plastic, no, they actually make money. The plastic industry would love for us to continue to just eat plastic. So, um, one last question I'll ask you is look, you worked with soils and
Yeah.
contaminants there, and
Hmm.
you've been working on some techniques for remediation of
Yes.
these things. Well, tell me
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we do, mainly one of the breakthroughs we got is that um, we found lots of micro nanoplastics are released from the wastewater. So that's one of the major sources. So these wastewaters are directly discharging treated water into marine environment, and that's like a major source. So then we wanted to stop that flow. Then we have developed a technology that's actually removing micro nanoplastics and associated pollutants, chemical pollutants such as PFAS, PAHs, and then biological pollutant like pathogens. So we have developed it, and benchtop design has been done. We have evaluated it, and then this can be a good post treatment option. So you have whatever the treatment you have, but post processing, if you have this plug-in system, it should be able to further refine the water, stop all the microplastics, and go. That's one. This is like advanced machinery based treatment technology. And the second technology we are also trying for drinking water, can we just efficiently flocculate it. So that's also, we have developed few natural flocculants, and it's working well. So but still, so my all the treatment technology, I have worked a lot, but I always look at not publication perspective. I always look at bench to business model. That means we should be able to, we won't promote the technology until we prove it in a large scale like 1000 liter or 1 ton capacity.
Right.
So we are in that pathway. Very soon we will have that. We want to validate it with the wastewater authority, and then we can promote it. But nobody is going to buy a treatment technology just to remove plastic in wastewater, because wastewater has a lot more other dangerous things. So that's why we have to adopt a different strategy. So our strategy has to be comprehensive enough so that it can not only remove plastic and also remove other pollutants.
Yeah. Can I make a recommendation? How about fungi?
Yep. Degradation. Yep. Yeah. So we have around 24 different fungi in the lab looking at the degradation. Yeah. It's been slow, but we look at fungal enzymes, and yeah, we've been doing that as well biodegradation wise. We got fungi and bacteria and combinations as well. Yeah. But it's a bit slow process. It has to be, because in terms of application wise, you can use it in recycling and environmental degradation also. But what we want to do is stop it before it gets to environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So fungi we are working, we have a couple of team members been using it. Yeah.
I'm a big fungi fan. I think that
Ah, excellent.
they might save the
You like
world one day.
mushrooms then?
Oh yeah, I got some growing in my back
Yeah, fungi
room.
is good. Ah, very good. What
Yeah,
type of mushroom you grow?
pink oysters, regular oysters, and we got
Oh,
some
I love oysters. I love oyster. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
expensive here.
Oh really?
Very
Oh,
expensive.
you got to get
Yeah, I don't like button.
they start selling these boxes now.
Yeah,
I do buttons too, but you can get them and then you can recultivate and start
good.
sterilizing your own
That's what
medium.
I'm planning to do.
Yeah, you
Mm,
should.
mm,
It's
mm.
awesome. All
Yeah,
right, so
yeah.
let's talk afterwards. So sign off to the program. I want to thank Dr. Thava Palanisami for coming on. University of Newcastle, wonderful human being, expert on microplastics and pollutants. Brilliant man. He's hopefully going to save us some misery. Is there anything you want to say before you go?
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been nice talking to you. I hope we'll have more opportunity to discuss.
All right, stick around. We'll be back.